What's up, everybody? It's Compass back with another pick'em, being joined here by Lancer.
What's up? How we doing?
Unfortunately, Clutch couldn't join this time, but Lancer is here to help us out a little bit. Just to give y'all an update on what I did last week, we did go 2-1 against the Bandits right here. It's a pretty nice series for us. It was a pretty big week in EPL. A bit shocking. I would say the most shocking series is North Shore Hanu sweeping Soda Beer last week. That's a pretty crazy result to me.
Yeah, I wasn't really expecting that either. I felt like all of us were expecting it to be a big back and forth series and not how it ended up.
I mean, it was close in games 2 and 3, but Zumi, he just always comes through in the clutch. Um, Today we're going to be going over our week 3 pick'ems and of course talking more about how the season is developing. If you like Power Pros EPL content and if you're ready for the new Power Pros to drop or even the new college football to drop, I'm planning on dropping some content on that game too. Drop a like and a subscription down. Also, make sure to check the links down in the description. There's going to be the Power Pros World Discord, my Twitch, Lancer's Twitch, and his Twitter. Make sure to check all those links out. And let's get on to our pick'ems. First matchup of the week, we got the Chicago Curve and Clutch versus the White Comets and Big Sid. Do you want to start out on this? I'm not gonna
Yeah,
lie,
I
I don't.
mean, from what I'm seeing, oh, jeez, hold on. I just read something from the rest list here. So from what I'm seeing right now in this series is it might be a little bit one-sided coming from the White Comets at least. They're starting off, they will probably be running Doe game 1. And heading into game 2, they're probably going to have Hope Suzukaze starting off that game. So
Yeah, it's
it just seems like it's going to be, yeah, it just seems like it's going to be something that Sid's going to be able to control really fast. He shocked us last week, going 2 out of 3, I believe.
I
So
did want to talk about that. We were all on his
yeah,
head about Bonda, and Bonda came out and
he
won the
was.
game.
I don't even know how Bonda did it, but it was incredible.
I mean, we doubted Big Sid's pitching ability. I mean, Big Sid, I think that he's one of the better pitchers in our league. And I mean, his performance with a subpar pitcher like Bonda for like the whole game last week, it really proved it in my opinion.
Yeah, it
And
was an incredible performance.
and he's getting all his good pitchers back. All right, and Clutch unfortunately had to he's had a very unfortunate first 2 weeks. Of course, first week he faced Anthony P, who we've seen from the first 2 weeks. He's gone undefeated through the first 2 weeks, which is what we're mainly looking at here. So, he was a very strong contender starting out, so not a very good draw there. In week 2, he got eye pump, which is one of the favorites in the league, so definitely a very, very bad draw in the first 2 weeks, but he is 0-6. The Comets, their pitching staff is way too strong. They have a lot of stars out there, although I should say that Kagurazaka is going to be out for this entire series. Will not be able to pitch until week 4. But even with that said, I think that the White Comets, they're going to get 2 games. I think that the Chicago Curve are going to find a way to get their first win of the season, but I think that the Comets, they have the pitching talent. Of course, we seen with Bonda last week, they have the talent on 2-tap to make it happen. I think they're going to take 2 out of 3.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like more the less it was going to be a sweep, but I can understand 2 out of 3. especially when you have Raven being one of the pitchers that you could sneak in a win there. So
Yeah. Raven is gonna be tough for Big Sit to hit against. I could see game number 2 being a very big game between Allen and Suzakaze. That's gonna be a big matchup. Of course, Suzakaze is not the White Comets ace. They have Doe, which is kind of crazy that they have both those pitchers. They were in a very good position in the draft to pick up both of them, but
yeah,
that's going to be a very good game. But I mean, the curve, just in the pitching department, they do have the upper hand with Allen over Suzakaze. But I do see them sneaking out their first win. I think we're gonna go out. We're gonna go White Comets winning 2 out of 3. Should I put it as a sweep since you said it was a sweep, or?
no, I keep it 2 out of 3.
And then of course next series is gonna be my series. I'm not gonna give my opinion on what I think is gonna happen, but I will say it's a very big series. Me and Yabe have a very storied history. Of course, we did meet in the USA Finals and the semifinals of that tournament, where he did beat me 4-2. Uh, wasn't really that particularly close, but I have played him a lot since just online. I would say he's definitely one of the contenders. I'm not gonna sit here and act like I'm better than him or anything, but I don't think that I should be counted out of anything. I think that I can definitely compete against him. And let's hear what you got to say, Lancer.
I think it's pretty simple. Um, Game 1, I believe you guys are going to be doing a pitcher's duel here with Hokuto and Myojin. Both of them great pitchers,
Mm-hmm.
understandably so. But I feel like Myojin's going to get the upper hand in Game 1, take the first game for the Green Revolution. But then looking at the rest of your pitching staff, you got Go coming back. Simon comes back in Game 3. You also still have everybody in your bullpen that's available if you play your cards right for the whole series. And I feel like you'll be able to pull it out and get 2 out of 3 after Game 1 at least.
I could see that possibly happening. Of course, I would love if that would happen. That would be a huge dub in my books. But Yabe is very tough opponent, and it's going to be very, very difficult to get the series win against him. Of course, I got the series win against the Bandits last week, and they got the series win against YG and the Revolution before that, but I mean, YG has proven on the top levels that he's one of the most skilled and talented players in this game, and he's getting better week after week. I mean, when you go to an international tournament, you get that type of respect that's deserved. And I could see Yabe very much being the favorite in this series, in my opinion, to a lot of people. All right, and next up we got Osaka Foxes led by Serena and Philadelphia Bandits led by B Farrell. Not even looking at the pitcher rest, Serena has been dealt a very bad hand of cards. Had to go up against Dot Crew and M. Dot Frisk, and had to go up against iPump, two of the better players. Of course, iPump's a very top contender. M. Dot Frisk is definitely a dark horse contender. Um, Pretty bad draw the first 2 weeks, and I think that this third week is also a very bad draw because B Farrell, he's just as good as M. Dot Frisk. I mean, I would say he's slightly better. He definitely competes with iPump in his leagues. He's one of the top players in this league. I honestly see a sweep happening, unfortunately for Serena, going down to
Yeah,
0-9.
I'd have to agree on that. I just don't see anything else happening other than a sweep. You're going to be missing out on Hoshi all series. Atsumori is going to be out for the first two games, and B. Farrell has some of their better pitchers still available going into the first game of the series. I mean, you do have Rebukai out for the first two games, but I feel like the rest of Farrell's staff can really pick it up from there. So yeah, I'm calling it a 3-0 sweep as well.
Yeah, Ribukai is definitely the star of the show on his mound, but Kurama and Horse Run are definitely not ones to be slept on. All right, and here we have a pretty good matchup, if I do say so myself. A very storied matchup with a lot of history. We have Dot Crew led by M. Frisk versus the Lost City Monarchs led by iPump. Both of these players both play in some of the similar leagues on PlayStation. Um, iPump is one of the contenders, one of the top contenders of this league, and Frisk, I mean, he's a dark horse contender, and he's shown in the past in previous iPump leagues that he can possibly sneak out games on iPump and maybe even take a series if he's lucky. I haven't looked at the rest yet and what the pitcher's gonna look like. Of course, Kiba has no rest. Yamino only has one game of rest. Yakuman 2 has no games. Not looking like iPump is really struggling for rest. Neither is M. Frisk. He is losing out on Ichinos for the series, but Ichinos, I mean, isn't that big of a loss. Definitely not a trash pitcher or anything. Definitely not losing anything, but he's not losing one of his top pitchers, but honestly, I see this going in the way of iPump, probably in a sweep.
I actually have this series as my series of the week. I feel like just because of the storied history between M. Frisk and uh, iPump, this could be one of the best series of the week. I see it at least going 2 out of 3. Who? It's a really tough call because both of them are absolutely skilled at the pitching position. They both know how to use no walk on to their advantage, especially iPump, who is so used to no walk on. It's basically just second nature to them at this point.
Yeah, he
But
doesn't play on anything other than no lock on, so it's no adjusting to him. His adjusting is just to the
yeah,
switch. So,
he's he's just unreal. I mean, I will have to give the advantage though to iPump, just because you got Kiba, you got Yumino. Those two are some of the best pitchers in this game, and I feel like that can really bolster their chances of winning the series over M. Frisk.
yeah, that bullpen and that starting pitchers, especially Kiba, the way that iPump knows how to use Kiba, it's going to be really tough for Frisk to bring it out, but I do believe that Frisk can bring out a game of this, but iPump, I just feel like he's going to be motivated to really take home every game in the series, and I personally think he's going to sweep it, but I would not be surprised if M. Frisk does take a game out of it. Alright, and we're getting on to a series that's already been played, unfortunately. Here we got John versus Anthony P. Bay Area Rockets versus North Pole No Sox. The No Sox did suffer their first loss at the hands of John. It was a pretty good series. Of course, there was some controversy. So basically, this game, it forced an oversight in the rule changes. It basically forced a rule change because of some rules that weren't properly well thought of, in my opinion. Basically, the rule before was that if a disconnect happened, no matter where you were and no matter what happened, the inning would just restart at the top of the inning as is with the score as is, and it would just take away all the runs of anyone that had scored runs in that inning before the DC had happened. So what had happened is they were in extra innings and John was pitching. He threw a meatball down the middle, and Anthony P, of course, he hit the bomb off it. He got 3 runs off it. And then, unfortunately, at the bottom of the inning, John, he disconnected. So, according to the rules, they would have to restart in extra innings at 2-2. So it really made no sense, and there was a huge uproar from the people watching for a rule change, and luckily we did get a rule change where you have to basically reenact everything that happened up until this point. But John was a great sport about it. He after they did reconnect, he didn't have to because it wasn't in the rules yet, but he did let Anthony P hit another 3-run home run and extra innings just to make it even, just to make it a fair game. But that was the controversy from this game in week 3. Did result in some rule changes. Basically, everything that happens before the DC has to be reenacted, just because no fair advantages. Anthony P, he ended up taking his first loss of the season, making him 8-1 on the season. Of course, that game 3 went into extras, was super close. He was super close to taking a second loss of the season before he hit that bomb, but that was a very good game. That's going to be on Sir Bacon Bits Anthony P's channel. Just look up Sir Bacon Bits streams and you'll find that game right there. That was a very fun game, and of course game 3 filled with a lot of drama. Next game we're going up into is the Hampton County Tabby Cats led by Ha Ha Healy versus the Purple Hurricanes led by Slimefall. I think this is low-key a great sleeper series, led by 2 people that I wouldn't see matching up too often. Ha Ha Healy, he had a kind of bad draw in the first 2 weeks. Of course, he went up against the North Pole No Sox before they took their loss. He was their 4th, 5th, and 6th wins, and they started off very hot. I think that they proved that they were a contender in this league, so he had an unfortunate draw there. And of course, he faced off against the White Comets in week 1, who they wasted like all their top pitchers on him, and he was still able to squeak out 2 games, which was pretty impressive, but that week 2 draw wasn't very good for him. The Purple Hurricanes, on the other hand, they went up against the Flickin' Squibs last week. They did take 2 games, and that last game that they lost, it did go into extras, which was a very close game. They showed a lot in that game. Of course, I swept them in week 1, but I don't know how much that tells you because I felt like my team was significantly better drafted than their teams, which, I mean, what can you do about that? Was his decision in the first place. You got any thoughts?
Nothing much coming from this series for me at least. I feel like the Tabby Cats though, with all this rest that they have to deal with in game 1 and 2, losing Unkai, Arai, Shinogi, and Tamura, that might be something they have to worry about with how well Slimefall is able to hit on no lock on. I feel like they can definitely take advantage of the rest that's coming into play. I do feel like the Tabby Cats, they do have a chance to at least sneak in 1, but I do think that the Purple Hurricanes are going to win this series. At least 2 out of 3. I could see a sweep happening though.
Yeah, I also agree on Hurricanes 2 out of 3. I think that those 2 games that they're most likely to win are game 1 because, of course, the Tabby Cat struggles with their pitcher rests. And game 3, mostly because the Hurricanes are getting back 2 of their top pitchers, Fukumizu and Tachikawa. Man, that's kind of sad. I never thought I would be referring to Tachikawa as one of
As an
someone's
elite pitcher.
top pitchers. The pitcher talent in this league is it's very low. Whenever you have 18 teams, it you get down there to some bums, and Tachikawa compared to some of the other pitchers on his team looks really good. So I think that the Hurricanes, they're gonna take 2 out of 3. I think that the Tabby Cats are gonna take game 2 personally. But another another series loss for the Tabby Cats. That's their second one in a row. That would be pretty tough start of this season for them. All right, our next series is X Long and the Flickin' Squibs versus the Crow Hoppers and MC Scales. We do have a trade alert here. I do got to talk about the Flickin' Squibs and the Soda Beer Sunrises trade. They did trade 1-for-1. Red for Daigugetsu. Daigugetsu was on Soda Beer Sunrise. Red was on Flickin' Squibs. Now they've swapped. Daigo's on Flickin' Squibs and vice versa. Very good trade for X Long's part. I think that he got one of the top pitchers in this league for not too much value. I think that the Soda Beer Sunrise, they did this trade because they didn't want to give up Daigo to a contender, and that's who was hitting them up was the contenders, because of course the contenders in this league are the ones that are gonna feel comfortable on 2-tap with someone like Daigo with F control and meatball. But Flickin' Squibs, they definitely, I think they got away with the winning part in this trade.
Mm,
You want to
Yeah,
talk
I
about
feel
the trade?
like I do feel like the trade will help out Flickin' Squibs in the long run. Just with how well it all depends on how well you use Daikigetsu, especially on 2-tap. You just gotta make sure your timing is right, and maybe sometimes you can use Daigo as a hitter, but I'm not sure how often that is gonna happen at least. But all in all, good trade for X Long X. I'm sure it won't really affect iPump too much, as he's already got a solid pitching staff on in his hands in the first place.
Yeah, that was the main contender for Daigo. I pump. Other than that, I'm sure there was other contenders hitting him up. I was hitting him up personally. Not gonna say what I was hitting him up for, but I do think that I pump was the leader to get him. I'm sure that Zumi hit him up. I'm sure that all the top pitchers hit him up, but of course, X Long did come up with him. It does mess up his pitching rotation, at least for the first game, because I do believe that Red did have no rest and was going to start in game 1 for the Flickin' Squibs, but with the trade, they're getting Daigu Getsu, who's coming in with 1 game of rest, so all their top pitchers, Yaku Mas, Daigu Getsu, Ribu, all have 1 game of rest, which leaves them kind of dry for game 1. You're gonna have to rely on Varese and both the Abadas, which isn't best case scenario, but definitely doable. MC Scales, of course, we've talked multiple times about how good he is. He's a very good player in this league. But the thing with him is he's missing out on his ace for the entire series. Afro Akari is not playing for this series. He is going to be in week 4, but will not be appearing in week 3. That puts a very big hamper on the Crow Hoppers. But other than that, they don't struggle too much with rest. It's going to be a very, very big series. I think that this is X Long's time to show that he is finding his way in no lock on. Of course, he is traditionally a lock on 3 player, but I feel like this could be the week that he shows that he's starting to adjust and that he is making his playoff push, especially with a Daigugetsu trade. What I am curious about is if he's going to try to use Daigugetsu in a reliever role, because as we all know, he does have Tyrant. A Tyrant is one of the best pitching abilities that you could possibly have, but only pops up in relieving, which Daigo isn't a reliever. Hurts his control even more. We'll see about that. I personally have MC Scales winning this 2 out of 3. I think that one of the games is going to go to the Flickin' Squibs just based off their pitching power, but the Crow Hoppers definitely have them beat skill-wise right now with no lock on 3 in my opinion. Flickin' Squibs still getting a feel for no lock on.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with this. I feel like Flick and Squibs definitely can find a way to at least win one game in the series. It's definitely not going to be game one, though. Just having missing out on three really solid pitchers, that's going to hinder X Long for those games. And once he gets them back, he'll be able to perform again. And he can at least take one from MC Scales, but I do believe it's going to be a 2 out of 3 for the Crow Hoppers.
I do think that game 3 is going to be close though. And if the Flickin' Squibs can come out of this with a 2-1 series win, I think this really could set them up for a nice run and maybe a potential playoff run. Who knows? They definitely have the pitching talent to do so now, especially after that trade. They already had super good pitching talent, but getting Daigugetsu upgrades that even more. Just very good pitching rotation. I I don't know. I don't have anything to say other than that. All right, and here we have a very interesting series. Here we have the North Shore Hanu, led by Zumi, versus the Wild Jokers, led by Matt. Of course, Zumi, he's undefeated so far. Took home a massive sweep against the Soda Beer Sunrise. His main competition on his side of the bracket, he did catch that sweep, which is absolutely huge for him and just proved to everyone that he is a force to be reckoned with. On the other side of the sheet, Matt and the Wild Jokers, they just lost a series to Jeff and the Jazz. I predicted that he was going to beat Jeff, so that was a little bit disappointing. I think that he's off to a little bit of a disappointing start to what I thought he was capable of, and this week 3 draw is just not helping him out. I think that he's honestly going to drop this series in a sweep. Zumi is just too good, and he's so great at the game. He's never out of any game, as we saw in that Soda Beer Sunrise series. As much as I want to have faith in Matt to take a game, I don't really see it happening, to be honest.
Yeah, I'd have to agree here. I think North Shore Hanu, they're going to absolutely dominate this series. I just see it as a 3-game sweep. Kariba going to be starting game 1. That's going to be a very dominant performance there. Then game 2, you got Asa coming in. I I think they're going to perform really well. And then game 3, you can go either way with your pitchers. I just don't really see Aone or Nijihani being able to contend against Zumi heading into game 2 or 3. So yeah, I'm picking a 3-game sweep for the North Shore Hanu here.
Yeah, I think that's pretty fair. And we're getting on to our last game. Unfortunately, this game was played already. We got the Smooth Jazz led by Jeff versus the Soda Beer Sunrise led by Penguin Pouch. Soda Beer Sunrise bounced back after getting swept to Zumi. They go on to sweep Jeff. Probably what I would have predicted, to be honest. They utterly dominated the series. as you could see by the scores. Pretty much took out their anger on Jeff, poor Jeff, but I mean, isn't too much to say about the series. I mean, the scores kind of tell you everything. Only one run scored by Jeff the whole series. Kind of dominated him, unfortunately.
Yeah, it was just a rough series for Jeff there. So to
Yeah,
be Sunrise wanted revenge and they got it. So
yeah. I'm
they're just gonna improve, hoping that maybe they can rebound next week though.
Yeah, I mean, this shouldn't say too much about the Jazz personally. I mean, the Jazz, they did have an oppressive week two show out, beating the Jokers 2-1 in their series, but week one and week three are against the best two players on their side of the schedule. So, getting swept by both of them, not really what you want to see. Pulling out a game against one of them would have been ideal, but I mean, they're the two best players on this side of the bracket, so you can't put too much. What am I looking for? What word am I looking for? I would just take these results with a grain of salt because I think week two was a lot more indicative to what they could do for the rest of the season than week three and week one. All right, so moving on to what the standings are looking like right now. Of course, we got the standings through week two plus all the week three games played. We still have two undefeated teams. Would be three undefeated teams if we did this early enough where Sir Bacon Bits Anthony P didn't play his game, but our two top contenders are still undefeated. I think that Zumi pretty much has the top seed locked with his side of the schedule. iPump still has a lot of great opponents to play against. I don't see him remaining undefeated. With Zumi's schedule, I could legitimately see him staying undefeated for the entire season. Like, he's gone through his hard part of the schedule. He swept Penguin, which was his real competition on this side of the bracket. And I mean, there's people in here that can take games off of him, but if he stays on top of his game, I see a real possibility of him just staying undefeated. And I think that there's a strong likelihood that he stays the one seed for the season.
Yeah, I can definitely see iPump heading into land play with a regular season championship here. He's just really, really talented with no lock on, and it is kind of tough for everybody else to try and adapt and to beat him in general. It's so all I have to say is that everybody just make sure you're hitting the lab, hitting the batting cage every once in a while. You just gotta keep practicing and making sure that you can keep up with no lock on for the entire season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's gonna be a real threat. Of course, iPump is definitely a threat to also take that number one spot, but with his remaining schedule and his side of the bracket that he's on, I mean he just faces more contenders in my opinion than Zumi. Zumi, he definitely got lucky with his side of the bracket. Of course, Sir Bacon Bits is up here too at the top of it, but I think he's gonna start to drop once he starts playing some of the other people on his side of the bracket, the Pumps and the B Ferals and YGs and all those type of people. He's gonna start falling down a little bit. Not to say that he's not gonna make the playoffs or anything. M. Frisk, he's doing pretty nice. Sticking at 5-1 with myself. Both of us are staying up top here on float. Anything you want to point out in the standings?
Not really, honestly. kind of what I've been expecting so far.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, these top 8 contenders, I could see a lot of these people being the top 8 that go into playoffs. I think that Penguin Pouch is definitely going to move into this spot. I think that B Farrell has a very good chance of moving into this spot, but if he does, I think that he's going to kick out someone from the odd side of the bracket, which would probably be someone like Frisk or myself. Maybe even Anthony P. But that whole side of the bracket is just going to be a huge dogfight. Yeah, these top 8 contenders, there's going to be a lot of fighting to do. These people at the bottom of the leaderboard, I do expect some of them to jump up. I hope that Serena and Clutch could get their win soon. Of course. Anything surprising?
Not really, no. I think that what I'm seeing is kind of believable. I can just say there could be improvements to some players, but not like huge improvements at least.
Yeah, I think the biggest surprise is just Penguin, just being this low. But of course,
Yeah.
no one saw the Zoomy sweep coming. I don't think. I think that we saw him at least taking one, which would have shot him a little bit up the leaderboard. But yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah.
Alright, well, I appreciate y'all tuning in to me and Lancer's Pick'ems this week. Of course, we're going to have a great week of EPL baseball. We got some great series. Of course, check out the Discord if you want to see when all those series are being played. All the times that the series are being played are always posted in there. Of course, check out every other link in the description. Make sure to like and subscribe on this channel and video if you like Power Pros content. Really appreciate Lancer for helping me out with this video. And hopefully we get to see a whole lot of good baseball this week. Alright, I'm Compass signing out. I'll catch y'all later. See ya.